Hello and welcome to the 2021 Haywire Awards Gala. I'm Carla Ranby, a presenter at Triple J and one of the mentors for the Haywire program. It's so exciting to be here celebrating the amazing Haywire winners. I'll be your MC alongside a fellow Moree girl, Alyssa Duncan. And who'd have thought two Moree girls here on TV together?
Moree represent.
Yep.
That's right, I'm Alyssa and I'm one of this year's Haywire winners from Moree, New South Wales, home of the Artesian Hot Springs. But today we're broadcasting from the lands of the original storytellers, the lands of the Yagara, Jagara and Turrbal nations in Meanjin, Brisbane. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging.
And it's some of those emerging leaders we're going to be celebrating today. Haywire is all about championing the stories and ideas of young regional Australians. Every year since 1998, thousands of young people have shared their story with the Haywire competition. And winners get to work with ABC producers to have their story to be featured on the ABC.
And today's show is all about the 35 Haywire winners for 2021 and being inspired by their stories from every corner of the country. And first up, I'm so excited to introduce you to Shakira from Tennant Creek in the Northern Territory.
In the middle of Australia, there's a small town called Tennant Creek. In the middle of that town is a house with a garden. And in the middle of that garden are handmade statues that mean the world to me. Growing up, every day after school, I'd go over to my nan and pop's house to help out in their garden. Nana always told me talking to the plants would help them grow faster. I love talking to the plants, but I really loved talking to my nan and pop. Pop would tell me the backstories of these statues that he made out of strong clay from Elliot, where he's from. He'll tell us about how he'd go to the creek and swim, and how there was always a cockatoo watching him, and it'd follow him all the way back home. Pop loved his grandkids and loved taking us to the places he loved. He couldn't get out much, so he'd sit in the car and show us which berries were the best one to pick. When in season, he'd show us the green ones, the black ones, the kangaroo and plums. Pop passed away last year and I miss him every day. I'm a proud, young, jingly woman, and when I finish school I want to be a station worker. I think Pop would be proud, because he helped me become who I am today. When he talked to me and told me stories, he'd help me grow, just like the plants in the garden. When I see some of the statues he made, I feel like he's still with me in spirit.
Wow, what a beautiful story about the importance of grandparents. Thanks to Shakira from Tennant Creek.
And now to another strong woman. We're so honoured to have the chair of the ABC, Ida Buttrose, here to formally open this event and to announce the Haywire winners from Western Australia.
Hello everyone. I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land that I am on today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging of all the lands that we are meeting on this afternoon. My thanks to you all for tuning in today to recognise the lives and achievements of young people across rural and regional Australia, and to congratulate the 2021 Haywire competition winners. I'd like to acknowledge special guests, Senator the Honourable Anne Ruston, Minister for Families and Social Services, the Honourable David Littleproud, Minister for Agriculture, Drought and Emergency Management, and the Honourable Stuart Robert, Minister for Employment, Workforce, Skills, Small and Family Business. It is the Australian Government's bipartisan support for Haywire that has made it such a powerful platform for young people for more than 23 years. My thanks also to John Harvey, the Managing Director of Agri-Futures, and Natalie Eggleton from the Foundation for Rural and Regional Renewal and their donor partners, such as the Sally Foundation, who contribute to Haywire's success. Haywire amplifies some of the nation's quietest voices. People from the country are known for being stoic and getting on with it. But in these noisy times, sometimes you have to grab the microphone when you see an opportunity. And our 2021 Haywire winners have done just that. My thanks to all our Haywirers for sharing their compelling stories about life in regional and rural Australia. They are honest, inspiring, and told from the heart. Whether it's Shakira's story from Tennant Creek about the importance of grandparents' advice, or Patrick's yarn about farming sheep in Launceston, the ABC feels privileged to share your stories with the nation. And now it's my great pleasure to announce the Haywire winners from Western Australia. They are Kevin from Broome, Cindy Lee from Donnybrook, Pedro from Gibson, Connor from Geraldine, Xander from Albany, and Rania from the Cocos Islands. Congratulations to our 2021 West Australia Haywire winners, and now here's a taste of their inspirational stories.
I am a Yaru Jaru Jabba Jabba Body Bunamba boy from Broome, WA, and I am a bull rider. In the Kimberleys, rodeos are held all over the place, from the east all the way through the west. Broome holds events each year, which are full of action and entertainment. Being a bull rider has taught me to be humble, to be calm in situations, have a good attitude, and to be respectful. It's what I look forward to every year.
I always said I would never be 20 and pregnant. The 4 generations before me were, and I'd felt like I had failed. I had so many goals. My job is physically demanding, and cattle can be unpredictable. And I had a little person in my tummy now, so I knew my role would have to change. But their response changed the course of my life. They said, "You can be a mum and still have a career."
My nan is the most important person in my life. She was there when no one else was. She means the world to me. I write in my journal at the end of every day and then turn some lines into songs or poems. Now I love listening to instrumentals and soulful music. I want to save up to get my own music studio. A song or a few words can change the lives of a lot of people.
I want everyone to feel welcome and at home at Cadets because it changed my life. When I got to high school, I didn't know how to make friends. But when I joined Cadets, I learned how to be confident in myself, and I now have friends in every unit of Western Australia. It's a safe environment for everyone to express their identity however they want and to go into the best versions of themselves.
I was always a shy kid. I'd get dry eyes and butterflies in my stomach. So when I signed up to join the school choir, the fact that we had to perform in front of masses of people seemed to slip my mind. Seeing my choir teacher have so much fun and feel comfortable makes me feel less nervous about the whole thing, and I've noticed myself become less and less nervous with every performance.
I came into this world with bones as fragile as glass. I was born with a rare condition called Osteogenesis Imperfecta. It means my bones break a lot and I'm not able to walk. With my dad's encouragement, I wrote a letter to the CEO of the Shire of Cocos about wheelchair access. The council then built ramps in my front and backyard. The ramps mean so much to me. They've given me my independence.
Congratulations to all of the 2021 Haywire winners from Western Australia. What incredible stories. Everything from a bull rider in the Kimberley to an accessibility advocate on Cocos Islands. Awesome. We're lucky to have with us in the studio one of the Haywire winners, Paris from Yamba on the New South Wales far north coast. Hi, Paris.
Hello, Carla.
You told us about the Black Summer fires in your community. Why was that such an important story to tell?
I think that it was so important for us to share the story of the Black Summer fires in the 2019-2020 bushfire seasons around Ngara and Woolooware. Because just to pay tribute and pay homage to the firefighters, the volunteers, and the community members that really just came together. A lot of them leaving their own homes and own families to defend other people's homes and the bushland environment that surrounds our beautiful town of Yamba.
Well, let's take a look at your story now.
I remember when Dad pulled up the car to pick me up from school. My guitar and all my belongings were on the back seat. I was like,
What's going on?
He said,
There's embers in the backyard.
a crackling blaze was rampaging across the drought-stricken bushland, scorching hot and glowing like hell itself.
And it's not even summer yet. We all flinched at the thought that the worst was yet to come.
Earlier that day, it was eerie. The sky was orange. We'd been watching the fires burn for weeks, our eyes glued to the Fires Near Me website. The smouldering black leaves falling on our homes. The combination of high winds, scorching hot temperatures and less than average rainfall simply fed the inferno. If only the tears, cried by the hundreds of Australians who had lost homes and family members, could extinguish the fires that ravaged our sunburnt country. At my grandmother's, lying in a strange bed, I stayed awake thinking about all the homes that were at risk, hoping that my friends would be safe.
Mentally, I prepared for the worst, that the town would be no more the next time the sun came over the smoky horizon.
All that stood between the fire and the town was a band of firefighters, some who'd left their own jobs to save our homes. Mother Nature was against them. The fire jumped roads, but they kept fighting. Not one single home was lost, and we owe it all to our firefighters.
Not all heroes wear capes. My heroes wear helmets.
Congratulations on telling such an important story, Paris.
Thank you so much, Carla.
Now, how is Yamba recovering a year on from the fires?
I think it's been so amazing to really see how resilient, Yamba, Woolooware and Gary, the surrounding bushland on the far north coast is really, has been so resilient and dealt with the bushfires in such a spectacular manner. Like everything's growing back super quickly. Even driving to school or driving places in and out of Yamba and Woolooware, you can definitely see how the greenery's sprouting back and the animals starting to come back, which has been a really beautiful thing to witness, I think.
Yeah, and what's it been like sharing this story and being a Haywire winner?
Being a Haywire winner has really been an awesome experience. I've had so many opportunities to meet new people, to meet like-minded youth and to share my perspectives and even to gain and challenge perspectives, which I think is something super important.
And this is the first time that the Haywire Summit has been run online. What kinds of things have you been able to do?
So the online summit has been, again, an amazing experience. We've had awesome opportunities to network, to meet trailblazers, other Haywire winners and mentors such as yourself, which has just been an awesome way for us to progress our leadership skills, our advocacy skills as youth, and to really just project the ideas that we're passionate about in our communities.
Well, once again, congratulations, Paris.
Thank you so much, Carla.
Thanks.
Now it's time to celebrate the winners from New South Wales. To do that, here is John Harvey, the Managing Director of Agri-Futures Australia.
Hi, I'm John Harvey, Managing Director of Agri-Futures Australia.
I would like to acknowledge we are on Wiradjuri country and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. I would also extend our respect to other First Nation people who are with us today. Agri-Futures Australia is a research and development corporation located in Wagga Wagga. In 1998, we began our long-standing relationship with the ABC in the aim of working together to help our rural communities thrive. Little did we know how important those conversations would actually be. Haywire started as a radio essay competition, and it has been really exciting to watch it grow and young people tell their stories with so much passion, humour and occasionally sadness, but always with a commitment to living in regional and rural Australia shining through. My congratulations to the 12,000 young people who have told their stories, often with great courage and candour, and those that have used the experience to make a real difference in people's lives. I'm pleased to announce the winners of the 2021 Haywire competition from New South Wales. What amazing stories of resilience, innovation and true grit in the face of great hardship. And the winners are Lily from Nowra, Jake from Temora, Kimmy from Wellington, Ashlyn from Broken Hill, Will from Moolameen, India from Bega, Paris from Yamba, Sam from Warrabrook, Liam from Ainsley, Amber from Lithgow, Josh from Maxville, and Alyssa from Moree. Well done to all the winners. I can't wait to hear your stories.
I want to fit in, but it's hard to fit in when you're in a wheelchair. The wheelchair helped me, but people would look at me like I was some sort of alien. But I'm not that different really. After I finish school, I plan to study social work because I want a career where I can support others and let people know that we're all different, and that's okay. I will always stand out, and that's okay.
Some people belong in football, others belong on a tractor, but I belong here. In a town of 5,000, I'm the only boy who does ballet, as far as I know. Being from a small town, not everyone is open to the idea of a boy doing ballet. But when the music starts, all of that negativity leaves. I focus on the movement. I love being able to tell a story with my body.
My family moved here for work from Zhaoqing in China. The main thing I remember about living in China was all the homework. I'm happy here. I go swimming with my friends in the holidays. In China, I would do holiday homework. There is not holiday homework in Australia. I do miss China and my friends and my grandma, but I don't miss all the homework.
I am a dairy woman. I like to think I'm a bit of a quiet achiever, humble. So when I found out I was nominated for the Encouragement Award at the Wurragara Awards for Excellence in Indigenous Education, I was shocked. After this ceremony, an Indigenous elder came up to me and handed me her scarf. She told me to remember this day, to remember that we are intelligent, strong, and we can do anything we put our minds to.
It was still dark, but I walked out of my room and remember seeing my dad on the front deck looking out. It was raining. We just stood out there and watched the rain and smiled. We didn't have a drop of rain on our place for years. When it rains, there's more to talk about at the dinner table because we've got a social life. Rain is so uncontrollable, but it controls my entire life. That's why when it started raining that night, there was nothing to say to Dad because we both knew it meant so much.
I will never forget the moment I saw that vivid poster. I rang the organisers, and before I knew it, I was part of the Rainbow Wave Festival team, our community's first ever Pride event. The festival committee soon became a family. These driven individuals inspired and encouraged me. I learnt so much from them and listened to their stories. It changed my perspective on what can be achieved in a small town.
I remember when Dad pulled up the car to pick me up from work. My guitar and all my belongings were on the back seat, and he said, "There's embers in the backyard." For weeks the fires kept burning, the smouldered black leaves continued to fall on our yards. And as much as we wished, the rain still didn't come. Not one single home was lost, and we owe it all to our firefighters.
I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 3, and the chemotherapy left me incredibly uncoordinated. So while all the kids my age were learning to play sport or ride a bike, I was in a hospital bed.
Ready, player one.
So we had this basketball video game I loved to play. And one day, I picked up a real basketball. Sometimes, all you need to find is something you really love.
I remember the first day of school in Australia was such a big culture shock. I had to take the bus and walk places. You'd never take the bus in Cape Town, but in Canberra, you can. When I was younger, if you would have told me I'd be walking to school with a laptop, I'd have said you're crazy. Feeling safe made me feel more independent, and that made me more confident. We didn't win the lottery, but I feel so lucky that we're living a better life.
I was diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder. I describe it as where you can't stop thinking about your own flaws and appearance. But I'm getting a lot of help from my mum, dad, and my doctors. When I'm writing, I don't have much time to think about myself, otherwise I will come a gutser and fall off. He's like a four-legged therapist. He's not perfect, he has his wounds and scars, just like me.
When it comes to reaching goals or just living a normal life, I had to try much harder than other kids because I was born with cerebral palsy. The thing I remember about childhood is that I always made sure I got straight back up after I fell over. But my biggest inspiration is my pop. I'm so lucky to have a grandfather like him. He has spent every day of his life working hard, and I try to live like he does, as much as I can.
What does it feel like to be black in Australia? It feels 2 steps behind. That's just how it is. I've heard that so many times. That's just an excuse to keep things the way they are. I feel like I can set an example for my younger brothers and sisters. I don't want them to hear what I've heard and be made to feel different because of who they are.
Congratulations to all of the New South Wales Haywire winners, including you, Alyssa.
Thank you so much, Carla.
Well, we saw a bit of your story there. What's it been like sharing such an important story about overcoming racism?
Oh, it's been such a powerful experience, you know, such a hard-hitting issue, and so many people sort of brush it off these days, and I think, you know, it's about trying to get that message out there and really just trying to push, you know, these things happen, and especially to young people like myself. So trying to, you know, overcome racism and just sort of get past it every day has been challenging. But you know what? I'm here now, and constantly, I'm always overcoming it, trying to become a successful young black woman. So I've just loved telling my story and telling it for other people out there as well.
And why is it important for young people to have their say on these kinds of issues?
I feel like the particular perspective that I have is important because it sort of brings this fresh, younger sort of eyes to it, and you know, people think that racism is this old issue, that it's not really there anymore, it's bygone, and I think, you know, people forget that, and you know, I really want to bring to their attention that it's still here and that it's still very much affecting young people's lives like myself and many other young people of colour. So I really just hope that my story sparks a change, makes an impact on those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And what have you personally gotten out of being a Haywire winner?
Oh, I've loved being a Haywire winner. It's a lot of, you know, taking phone calls, checking emails, saving dates, but it's all been so worth it in the end to just sort of see the final product, and you get to meet all these other young people with such inspiring stories that they're so passionate about. I've loved hearing them. I've loved, you know, taking on what their passions are, and it's just been so I don't know, interesting to see, and I've just loved every single moment of it. I think Haywire is a beautiful opportunity for everyone else, like anyone else wanting to get their story out there. So it's been great.
Well done, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you, Carla.
Now let's head to Outback Queensland to hear from the Honourable David Littleproud, MP, Minister for Agriculture, Drought and Emergency Management. He's going to announce the 2021 Haywire winners from Queensland.
Well, g'day from Jarrawa country. I'm proud to be the Australian Agriculture Minister, but proud to listen to young Australians, Indigenous and those that have come from across the seas. We've got a great story to tell in regional rural Australia, and partnering with ABC through the Haywire program has been a great conduit of being able to do that, connecting the country with the bush and the great stories that our young people have to tell our whole nation. So I'm proud to each and every one of you that have put yourself forward. You're a great inspiration to our part of the world, and you tell a great story that we as a nation should be so proud of. So to you, thank you and congratulations. And it's my great honour to announce the Haywire winners, particularly even from my own electorate of Maranoa, are Caleb from Kawara Beach, Taylor from Billawheeler, Ty from Longreach, Jessica from Esk and Elijah from Bundaberg. Congratulations, guys.
I like to describe autism as having your brain wired differently. It took me ages to figure out body language and facial expressions. I love reading, writing, singing and dancing, but some social settings can cause all sorts of anxiety. I think it's important to think of autism more as a gift than an obstacle. I'm hyper aware of many things other people wouldn't even notice.
I've always known I was different because I'm autistic. Sometimes autistic people have a mathematics forte, but I have a language forte. Part of my course was a compulsory semester where I was studying in Okinawa. I didn't feel I would last a week because every other time that I'd been apart from my family, I'd spend the time crying and feeling homesick. But I did it, and I love so many things that are about Japan.
The man running the hearing test turns to face me and my mum, frowning. The test I thought was impossible to fail, I failed. I live in a tiny town based off 2 mines. It felt like every parent, grandparent and great-grandparent knew what had happened to me. Everyone knew my story. Everyone knew I was different. It's been 5 years since my hearing test. People that truly care about me won't judge me for my hearing loss.
I play lawn bowls. I started when I was 8. We've got a great bowls club in Longreach. Everyone chips in to volunteer to keep it going. During the drought, it might have been the only piece of green grass in town. We've got 40 members, not enough for a big league, so I had to join a club in the city. It's in Brisbane, 12 hours away. I think I know every bump on the Warrego Highway.
I started researching and discovered gender dysphoria. It's feeling like you're in the wrong body and being incredibly unhappy with your birth gender. Something just clicked when I found that definition. I broke down. There was a moment of dread. But it also felt better to know that there's something to describe the way I feel. I hope my story helps people too. Even when things are falling apart, it's not the end. Things do get better.
Well done to all the Queensland Haywire winners. Such inspiring stories. And thank you to the Minister for Agriculture for announcing them.
Our next story takes us to a cattle feedlot in Donnybrook, Western Australia. Here is Cindy Lee's winning Haywire story.
After graduating high school, I got my dream job in a feedlot. It's hot, it's dusty, and most days you get covered in poop and urine. I love working with cattle and working outside. But one day I thought, that's strange. My husband was FIFO, so I was alone. My period was late, so I stopped for a pregnancy test on the way home. I sat there, looking at the 2 pink lines, shaking. I was in total shock. Then I was flooded with emotions: excitement, sadness, anxiety, love, anger. I always said I'd never be 19 and pregnant. The 4 generations before me were, and I felt like I had failed. I had so many goals. My job is physically demanding. I knew my role would have to change. As I walked over to tell my boss, I kept saying to myself, "Don't cry, be professional." "I'm pregnant,"
What?
I said out loud, but his response was not what I was expecting.
You can still have a career and be a mum.
Before I knew it, I was holding a beautiful baby boy for the first time. The feeling was out of this world. After adjusting to my new life, we got into a routine. My family would help out while my husband was away. While I was on maternity leave, I studied for a certificate in beef management. Clancy is 2 now, and he comes to feed the cows with me every day.
Wow.
I want people to know that with hard work, passion, and the right support, mums can have a career and still be great mothers. Hey.
Well done, Cindy Lee from Donnybrook. You are such an amazing woman, and thank you for your inspiring story. And how cute is her little boy?
Yeah, I'm sure that story warms the heart of our next guest, the Minister for Social Services, Senator the Honourable Anne Ruston. She's going to introduce the Haywire winners from her home state of South Australia and also the Northern Territory.
Hi all. As a country girl myself, I'm super excited to be able to join you virtually to celebrate an amazing group of young, rural and remote Australians. Your stories are a really important insight. They're a reflection of life in rural and regional Australia, and your stories evoke the true spirit of our country. They speak to the traditional values of having a go and persevering to overcome challenges. It's a shame that sometimes rural and regional Australia is overlooked in favour of the nation's concrete jungles. Because as all the people in this room know, the country remains crucial to our nation. It's the foundation of Australian culture, it's the backbone of our economy, and it's helped Australia reset and recover from the coronavirus pandemic. And that's why the Haywire initiative is so important, because for over 2 decades it's given country kids the opportunity to tell the rest of the nation exactly what they're missing out on. I count myself as blessed having grown up on a farm. I doubt many kids growing up in the city would have had a motorbike at the age of 7, kept their horse in the backyard, or been able to spend every weekend water skiing on the mighty River Murray. But at the same token, they wouldn't have had to have got out of bed every morning at 6 a.m. to take a 50-minute bus ride to school, or spent countless holidays cutting apricots in 40-degree heat. So tonight it's my great pleasure to be able to announce the winners of the 2021 Haywire competition from South Australia and the Northern Territory. They tell brave, courageous and inspiring stories, like pursuing a career in women's cricket, learning to thrive without the certainty of an endometriosis diagnosis, and training to be a kickboxing champion and a digital artist in the Tiwi Islands. So the winners are Shakira from Tennant Creek, Matthew from Corlington, Cleo from Mintaro, Ella from Narracourt, Seth from Cleve, and Meletta from the Tiwi Islands. Congratulations for the impressive work you have undertaken in each of your local communities. Now let's enjoy their stories.
In the middle of Australia, there's a small town called Tennant Creek. And in the middle of that town is a garden. And in the middle of that garden are handmade statues that mean the world to me. Pop made these little statues and put them all over the garden. They were made from strong clay from Elliot, 200 kilometres north of Tennant Creek. That's where he's from. I keep some statues he made in my room. When I see them, I feel like he's still with me in spirit.
Who knew that it could take this long to dig a hole, put a post in and thread wire through? It was hard work. I was sweating and the sun was still rising. I'd rate my fencing skills 3 out of 10, but it's still standing and it's pretty straight. So maybe I'm not that bad a farmer after all.
Sunburnt skin, zinc-covered noses, wide-brimmed hats, wooden bats and stained white pants have been a constant my whole life. I played my first A-grade cricket match at the age of 8. It's a rite of passage for country kids, but I loved every second of it. Once upon a time, there wasn't even a place for women in cricket. But now Perry, Lanning, Healy are household names, even inspiring the boys. It started when I was 14. I was a typical teenage girl. I was wearing everything you could and still bleeding through within half an hour. The doctors couldn't work out why it was happening. The doctors told me I was too young to have endometriosis. It was too unlikely, so I couldn't be diagnosed. I want other girls to trust that they know their own body. If you think something is wrong, back yourself. Back yourself.
I'm in control of a real plane, flying over my hometown on the Eyre Peninsula, and it's the greatest feeling in the world. I applied for a place at an aviation school and got in. Once a term, I travelled to Port Pirie to do a week's intensive study. We do lots of theory, learning about how the engines work and aerodynamics, but we also get to fly. A single-engine light aircraft is the most awesome classroom.
I'm an Indigenous Pacific Islander girl. My father's Torres Strait Islander. My mother is a Tiwi Islander. I was born in Cairns, but I grew up on Tiwi Islands. I draw a lot. I daydream and picture my drawings. I draw my dreams, kind of like my memories. I'm a digital artist now, self-taught. I'm the first and only person in my family to do digital art. After school, I want to go to an art school and study animation. I want to make anime inspired by Dreamtime stories.
How awesome are the stories from the Haywire winners from South Australia and the Northern Territory? Surely that means we have a couple of states coming up, Carla.
Yes, just a couple. Now we're looking at the Victorian and Tasmanian Haywire winners. To announce them, here is the Honourable Stuart Robert, MP, Minister for Employment, Workforce, Skills, Small and Family Business.
It's my great pleasure today to announce the Haywire winners for Victoria and Tasmania. Can I say at the start I was inspired by the courageous stories of overcoming challenges and forging pathways and careers in education. Like Patrick's story, for example, from Rosevears, about not letting a disability get in the way of achieving a dream job in farming. Or Ella from Myrtleford, blazing a trail for young women in the construction industry. Or Miranda from Creswick, facing her fears, moving away from home to further her education. Can I thank you all for participating, for giving us a window into the lives of not just yourselves, but of younger people in regional Australia. And without further ado, it's time to open the envelope and announce the winners for Victoria and Tasmania. So it is my great pleasure to announce QT from Eaglehawk, Miranda from Ballarat, Patrick from Rosevears, Tully from Dixie, Rafaela from Myrtleford, and Zoe from Acton Park. Congratulations to those 6 extraordinary Australians. I look forward to watching your journey in what you're doing in the years ahead.
I spent the first 15 years of my life in a refugee camp. Living in a refugee camp is like being in prison with no bars. You're not allowed to leave. But in 2015, my family and I boarded our first international flight. We were being centered in Australia. I am so grateful that this country allows us to celebrate our cultural traditions. We feel alive again.
I remember thinking to myself, I should just run away right now. If I leave, they can't take me away. I didn't want my family to send me away to boarding school. I live in Ballarat, Victoria, and I am a proud Goodni Chimara and Kurnai woman. This is still one of my biggest challenges I have faced, and looking back, I now understand why my family sent me away. They wanted me to be educated and do something good for myself.
When I was in kindergarten, I was diagnosed with autism. Noise can be an issue for me. I hate sirens. But when you're busy working, you don't notice the sounds, and they're for a reason. If cows are mooing, they are hungry and want to be moved. Sheep start baaing because they are trying to get to know each other. I take a lot of pride in my family's farming history. Hopefully I get a job at the end because farming is what I've always wanted to do.
When I was younger, I wanted to move away as soon as I grew up. As it turned out, I did move to the city for my final 3 years of school, so I could train for sport. I'd look out at skyscrapers when studying and think of the mountains I'd be looking at if I was back home. Back at home, when I go into town, I'll drive past at least 4 utes, and they'll all wave at me.
I've always dreamt of working in design or construction when I finish school. But around here, the boys do that stuff. Well, up until now. Dad's a very traditional Italian man. I wanted to tell him that girls can do anything a guy can do, even if they do it in a different way. When Dad said,
"Good job, Al,"
it made me feel good that he had realised that I could do it finally.
We were halfway up the mountain when I knew it was time to spill. My dad was a deep thinker. He always told us to come to him if we needed a talk. But coming out to him was still the most nerve-wracking thing I'd ever done. We stood there in the cold wind, surrounded by wildflowers, for what felt like ages. I have never felt closer to my dad than I did that day.
Congratulations to our Victorian and Tasmanian Haywire winners. Lisa, such honest and courageous stories.
Absolutely. And our final story today is going to want to make you visit the Tiwi Islands, north of Darwin. This story is by Meletta from Tiwi College.
I've lived on the Tiwi Islands all my life. I live at Tiwi College Monday to Friday before returning home on the weekends and school holidays. Our classrooms are surrounded by bush and animals. After school has finished, we sometimes head down to the creek where I muck around with my friends. For fun, we paint ourselves with clay and have a bit of a laugh. We tell stories together, creating fun and happy memories. But there was one time when things weren't so great for me. At primary school, I used to get bullied for my art. Everyone was into sport, and I wasn't good at it. Other kids would say, "I hate art. Art is for losers." When my dad found out I was getting bullied, he said I had to stand up for myself. He taught me how to box. Now I train with my uncle. I've gotten tougher. And my art has gotten better too. I'm a digital artist now. Self-taught, I'm the first and only person in my family to do digital art. After school, I want to go to an art school and study animation so I can make my own Tiwi anime, inspired by a Dreamtime story. In many ways, this has been a magical place to grow up. I want to use these happy memories and turn them into animations.
What a beautiful story. I can't wait to see more of Meletta's
Absolutely.
Tiwi anime. How cool.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it for our 2021 Haywire Winners Awards show.
Oh, Carla, I honestly can't believe how many great young people there are with amazing stories. Thank you everyone for joining us to celebrate the stories of my fellow Haywire winners. You can listen to them again on the Haywire website or the Haywire Facebook page.
Haywire is powered by a partnership between the ABC and the federal government. It wouldn't be possible without the support of the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Communications, Department of Social Services, Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment, Department of Education, Skills and Employment, and the Department of Health, as well as Agri-Futures Australia, the Foundation for Rural and Regional Renewal and their donor partners.
Thanks for watching and all the very best to you all.